Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. You can see I'm in the Lance camper right now. I'm actually heading up to the Mississippi River in Wisconsin. There in La Crosse, we've got the Title Championship going to happen this next week. So heading up there, I'm going to be doing a lot of research on my Navionics app, on my iPad, my phone, and also on my graphs. And that kind of prompted me to do a new kind of video that I haven't really done that much of. I've done it a little bit, I've dabbled with, map breakdowns with like Lake Chickamauga or Nickajack Lake. I've got one on there. But I really think that it's a cool type of video that I've seen on some of the other channels, like Bradley Hallman's channel. He does a lot of like map breakdowns and stuff like that. And they turn out to be really cool videos with a lot of useful information. So I would like to do some of that too, because I've got the opportunity to travel all around the country on the MLF Pro Circuit, go to all these different fisheries, and really get to know them well, even if I've only been there for one event. A week-long event means that I get to see a fishery pretty much from dam to creek. So I wanted to go ahead and do that sort of video for each fishery that I visit. So this may not be a situation where I'm going to be the most knowledgeable about a lake, but I'm going to be able to share with you what I experienced, at least for that one tournament, at the bare minimum, on each fishery. And this week, since the last event I fished was the St. Lawrence River, I wanted to go over that fishery and just kind of explain how the fishery lays out, in the different areas, in the different regions of the river, and so on and so forth. Again, this was my first time on the St. Lawrence River, and so I don't know it super intimately, and I only got to experience the US side, so that's all we're going to be talking about today. But I did get a pretty good understanding of what it looks like, what type of terrain you're looking at, and what type of fishing opportunities you have from the Lake Ontario border all the way up to Messina. So let's get started. We're going to be utilizing my Navionics map on my Navionics app on my iPad. We're going to go into that there. Oh, and we are on the Mississippi because we're all ready to do some research on that. But let's go ahead and look at the overall St. Lawrence River here. So we're going to be talking about all the way from the mouth of Ontario all the way up to the Messina area right up here. So let's go ahead and start up in Messina. Okay, so Messina is where we ended up launching at the Pro Circuit event, and to be 100% honest, I really didn't spend a lot of time up here, which was kind of disappointing because a lot of the top finishers, including my good friend Matt Steffen, he fished real close to the ramp up here. John Cox was there. There were several guys that did very well up in the Messina area. What I can tell you with my limited experience up here is that a lot of the Messina area is there's a lot of grass that grows out to about 14 or 15 feet in most cases, and there's a lot of different islands up here, as you can see. You've got a lot of different current breaks both on the front of islands and the back, and so there's a lot going on up here. But again, I really didn't explore it that much. There's, as you can see on the map here, there are tons of these little rock designation icons, which on the Navionics app was really accurate. I was really surprised at how accurate these little rock icons were, because every single area that it had one, there was a significant rocky reef or you know, just rocky structure in general. So that was one thing that I really looked for a lot, because anytime you're around rock like this, there's likely to be some smallmouth around there, and largemouth as well. But in general, you know, just in my fleeting you know, experience with this this Messina area, which was really fleeting because I was only really, I think I made 2 or 3 casts in here on one of the days on the way back to weigh-in, but just a ton of different areas up here, a lot of different current breaks and things of that sort. Of course, like I said, a lot of rocks and things like that. So it seems pretty dynamic up here. There seems to be a lot going on. I know that really it was just all about fishing those current seams for those guys that did well over here, and also fishing those weed lines. Man, it sounds like somebody's setting off some fireworks out there, if you can hear that on the audio. But anyways, since I didn't get a lot of experience up here, we'll kind of move down a little bit. I will say that this was more like, if you're more comfortable with you know, traditional river fishing, this Messina area seemed to be really solid. Now, as far as heading down, or rather upriver towards Waddington, again, really didn't have a lot of experience up here. You know, there was plenty of guys that fished any of these shallower shoals with rock on them, that had really good current breaks, a lot of that sort of stuff. There's guys pretty much on all of these different high spots, you know. And again, I'm really not going to get into, you know, the details as to specific areas. That's not my job to tell you exact areas, because I really don't know the fishery in general. But I will tell you, you know, just kind of what each area, what type of combination of cover, structure, and so on that I saw in these different areas. But that being said, did not fish this region that much. I actually did fish around Ogden Island a little bit and caught some fish that I ended up culling with, you know, and it's just pretty much all about you know, fishing the current breaks either on the front of the islands or on the back sides of the islands. That seemed to be key, and this area seemed to have a lot more like you know, sparse rock and gravel and mixture of grass and sand than just like real chunky rock or big, you know, rocky pinnacles or things like that are really snaggy. This was actually a good area to be able to drift around, and I'm sure that there is some areas that get really snaggy, but you know, I fished, you know, some areas in here where you could get some really good drifts with a drop shot rig or a Ned rig, and just kind of drag it on the bottom and do pretty well. So this region, you know, the Waddington area, Waddington's right here. This region, you know, seemed to be pretty popular. Running through this this lock right here, this dam. It's actually a dam, but it's got this weird lock system where the spillways lift up so you can drive underneath them. Pretty sketchy with how strong this current is. But anyways, didn't really fish much in between Ogdensburg and Waddington, so this area is kind of a mystery to me, and I didn't really see a whole lot of activity as far as people fishing that region. But I'm sure that like the entire river, you can really spread out. That's the one thing I do want to mention, is even though I may not have experience in all parts of this river, what I do know is from my research and from what I saw during that event was that you can pretty much do well anywhere on the river. If you're just having to fish the river, it's pretty spread out as far as what the productive areas are. You can actually fish a lot of different areas, but really didn't see a whole lot in between this big bridge right here. Don't know exactly what it's called. but I didn't see much there all the way down to this area right here. So as you get closer to kind of the Chippewa Bay, Alexandria Bay area right here, you start seeing a lot more rocky shoals on the main river. Okay, and this is what really caught my eye when I was doing some research, is how much different types of structure you have to fish here. You see right here, you've got a lot of rocks. That rocks are very common on in this region. You can see, even if you don't have like the little rock icon, you can see these little R's here. So that designates, you know, kind of a hard or rocky bottom seabed area. Really, all of these areas are all, you know, rock and little humps all over the place. So it's a really dynamic stretch of this river that really allows for a lot of opportunities to catch some good smallmouth. So lots of guys ended up focusing on this region for sure, and it's just overall full of different places to fish. The one struggle that you're going to have in this area all the way down to, you know, the Clayton area is the fact that it's so rocky, and combined with that current is that you can go through a lot of different drop shot rigs or whatever you're throwing in this area, because it just gets so rocky, and with that current it's really hard to fish your drop shot or whatever you're fishing without snagging. One recommendation that I would give you is use the lightest weight possible. You know, I was using a 3/8 ounce, which was really the lightest I could think of, and you know, to fish in that heavy current, and I snagged way less with the 3/8 ounce than I did with a 1/2 ounce. So just keep that in mind. But all this area here is really good. Just, you know, essentially fish any of these humps which create current breaks, and it seemed pretty standard. You just needed to fish a lot of these different high spots and rocky shoals and reefs to find the areas that the fish were really holding on. But both the upside, you know, the up current side of the structure and the down current side seemed to be productive. You just needed to spend a lot of time to figure out what reefs and what humps were holding fish. So this whole stretch all the way up from, I don't know what Morristown all the way down to Chippewa Bay, this whole area was just a hot zone. Lots of activity there. I caught, you know, several fish, including one that I ended up weighing in the tournament, and right in that area. And the same thing goes for the Chippewa Bay area. There's still, man, they are going crazy with those fireworks. Man, finale. Yeah, lots of rock. Lots of rock, humps and shoals and things like that. Fishing around any of these islands seems to be pretty productive. Any of these islands or you know, the peninsulas seem to be pretty good. One thing I will tell you is this Chippewa Bay area tends to have, you know, a lot of tannic stained water, so everything else is really clear. But once you get into the back of this creek, I guess it's called Chippewa Creek, duh. Once you get into that Chippewa Bay, Chippewa Creek area, it starts getting a kind of dark tannic stain. Really good looking largemouth water. Lots of grass back here. The creek looks amazing. I never went back there, but I passed over it on this road a lot of times, and man, I was bummed I didn't have more time to go explore it. But lots of grass, lots of eelgrass, lots of different types of submergent and emergent vegetation back here. Also some good docks back here. So if you're looking to just go catch some largemouth, Chippewa Bay is a really good area, and so are really any of these areas back here. Those all look pretty good. But moving down, this is pretty much you know, still some of the same. Lots of islands, lots of rocky high spots and humps, that sort of thing. So very standard stuff here. You know, it's hard to differentiate any of it without, you know, spending some time and fishing all of it. But then you've got a largemouth area here. So Goose Bay, also full of vegetation, lots of largemouth back here. That seemed to be a pretty hot spot. You know, again, the water gets a little less clear, a little bit more algae back here, so it's really tailor-made for fishing for largemouth back here. I didn't fish here during the tournament, but I spent a little bit of time during practice. But yeah, so moving on down, you start to get towards the Narrows. There's that Bolt's Castle down here. That's pretty cool. This area, you know, all in here, all these flats all around this area seem to have some good populations of smallmouth. Really, you know, anywhere from 4 to 8 foot. There was plenty of smallmouth cruising around when I was there, and you know, it's just a matter of finding the right combination of vegetation, sand, and gravel, and sparse rock and things like that, and figuring out what the smallmouth are holding on. But all of these areas really do produce. One thing I will say is that I've noticed that the more vegetation, if the vegetation is choking out the bottom where you can't see sand or any, you know, hard spots, wasn't as much of a productive area as the areas that had a lot of you know, big patches of either gravel or sand mixed in with the vegetation. So it was really important to have a good mixture to be able to catch those fish. The Narrows here, they're pretty interesting. I mean, the current gets ripping pretty hard in here. I did fish in here quite a bit and fished around a lot of like little current breaks. Like, you got little islands and stuff like that where the current kind of rips around those islands. Caught some fish during practice. There's a lot of docks in here. You can catch both largemouth and smallmouth in this stretch, but honestly didn't do all that well in here overall in the tournament or during practice. But I did catch a few big fish, but couldn't duplicate things. But there is a lot going on here. I mean, the Narrows definitely has a lot, and I saw a lot of fish, particularly around those small little current breaks and things like that. So once you get through the Narrows, which I do need to mention, there is a 30 or 35 mile an hour speed limit in the American Narrows. I was told from Lighthouse, which the first Lighthouse is like up here somewhere. Of course, the Navionics map will have it. Where's it at? I think, where is the Lighthouse? Well, it's somewhere, I think it's right here. It's somewhere, oh, no. I think, no, it's over by Bolt's Castle. But anyways, there's a lighthouse out here in the middle of the channel. I heard from lighthouse to lighthouse, and the other lighthouse is right here. Rock Island Light, it's 30 or 35 miles an hour. I really never got to figure out exactly which one it was, but I never got pulled over, and I was, you know, running around that 35 mile an hour range, and was going the same speed as everybody else. So just make sure, a lot of guys got tickets during that tournament, so make sure that you're aware of that. Lots of boat traffic. It gets really rough in here. It's not quite as bad as the Miracle Mile in my experience up in the Detroit River, but it was still a struggle. So lots of current there and lots of boat traffic. There's a lot of yachts and tour boats going around, so it was frustrating in the afternoon. The morning was fine, afternoon was pretty rough. But once it opens up on the other side of the Narrows, there's a lot of good largemouth areas in all of these bays. All of these bays have a great mixture of grass, rock, all kinds of stuff, a bunch of docks. This whole area, you know, from you know, around the Clayton area, Alexandria Bay, all really good stretches of docks that have largemouth and smallmouth too, and there's again a lot of good rocky humps and shoals out here to go for strictly smallmouth. So a lot going on here, and then as you get further towards the lake, okay, it starts transitioning, like right around here. Well, really, like right here, this is where the real consistent rocky shoals end, and you start seeing more gradual flats. Okay, so as you get towards the lake here, it seemed like around this island here, you had some really good flats that you could drift. You could set some drifts and drift for miles here, and find mixtures of that we're talking about: gravel, sand, and grass. You know, all those things together, and also some areas with chunk rock. And again, trust the Navionics maps as far as the rocks go. Man, every single time I saw one of those icons and went to investigate it, it had a lot of rocks around there. So if you're looking for chunkier rock areas, you got to keep your eye on that Navionics, those icons, the rock icons. So I did fish, you know, this general area over here, just a really good mix of all kinds of stuff. There was you know, a lot of fish there, as well as these flats and shoals out here. This shoal is actually one really, it's not above the water like it looks like on the map here, but it is super shallow. I know that if it was, you know, any lower, you know, a foot or so lower, a lot of those rocks would be above the surface, but lots of rock, and really it's just all about finding the right stretches. I mean, I've said it so many times, you know, you gotta go fish those areas to figure out what the best drifts are gonna be, but that's about as far as I went into the lake. I think this right here, Tibbetts Point, was the line of demarcation for us, so we couldn't go any further than that. I just went to this spot right here, just south of Carlton Island, just to check those areas out. Lots of fish there. I'm sure that somebody ended up doing well down there. I did not find the fish that were really willing to bite, and that I was really comfortable making that very long run. But I do like these areas if I'm strictly fishing the river, because you can just drift. You don't have to do a whole lot of moving. You can just go out there, drift those flats, find the right areas that have the right combination of sand, gravel, you know, rock, and grass, and just, you know, figure it out. But I really got good vibes from this region, you know, this whole region right here, as you got closer to the lake, because of that reason. You know, it doesn't look that big on the map, but man, when you get there, you could spend all day just in this one area right here, not to mention, you know, this big point right here, or just all around this island. So there's a lot to fish there. Man, other than that, I mean, that's just kind of a very general breakdown of the St. Lawrence River and my experience fishing the St. Lawrence River. Of course, it's going to change every single time I go there. This was my very first time, but that's exactly what I kind of experienced that week. So hopefully this is helpful. If you're going to the St. Lawrence River for the first time, be confident that you're going to catch some fish. You're going to have a great time. You know, but don't be afraid to go fish for some largemouth if you don't really aren't able to get the smallmouth to fire up, which is unlikely. It seems like for the most part these smallmouth are really willing to bite and are a lot of fun. Just pick up a Ned rig. My favorite is just a regular, you know, finesse TRD, green pumpkin, yoga pants, green pumpkin goby, any of those colors, and get after it out here on these, you know, any of this structure really. But yeah, that was my experience at the St. Lawrence River. That's how the river kind of laid out. Of course, once I get back out there, I'll be able to fill in some of the gaps that I have as far as like around the Ogdensburg area and stuff like that. But anyways, that is it. Let me know how you like this video. You know, I know that some of the fisheries I'm not going to know all that well, but I'm going to try to kind of break them down the best I can. But yeah, drop a comment below. Let me know how you like this video, if you want to see more of these videos, and make sure that you, if you do enjoy this video and the other content that I have, please support the channel by clicking that subscribe button. So thank you guys very much. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. I'll see you out on the water.